What's up, David? I forgot my incense. All right, I forgot my incense. Do you mind if I go grab my incense? I'm having my mushroom coffee. I'm out on a beautiful morning in the woods. I got to have my incense. Will you guys tap the hearts in the meantime? Get me up to like 500. Give me 1 sec. I'm going to teacup here for a sec, and I'm going to go get some, or I'm just going to walk away. I got a teacup for a sec, then I'm going to go get, I should have been better prepared. Give me a sec. Walk away. I got a teacup for a sec, then I'm going to go get, I should have been better prepared. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. All right. Come on in, guys. I know it's a terrible time to disappear just as we're starting, but I do like my Nag Champa when I do these, when I do them outside, because I destroy the inside with incense. So I've kind of lost my incense privileges, so I do it outside on the deck. So give me 1 sec. I'll be right back. Oh, I forgot to have my wireless mic on me so I could talk to you while I'm going inside. It's not line of sight, though, so it's probably going to cut out. It is definitely not line of sight, so it's probably going to cut out. Yeah, it's not line of sight. I just went into like 3 different rooms, so I'm sure it cut out, but I do have my wireless mic on me, so when I walk away like that, generally, I could still talk to you, which is kind of cool. I got my Nag Champa incense. It just kind of sets the mood for me, and if you've never lit incense outside, you should try it. Beautiful. What is going on, everybody? Good morning to you. Good afternoon. Good night. Wherever you happen to be. I know, like in Australia, I've got some TikTok Australian friends, and they're asleep now, I guess. Ooh, coffee's too hot to drink. Thanks for sharing the live. Good to see you, Ken. Who is going to be my first victim? I mean, my first caller. Sorry, my first caller. I like, and I don't know, this whole Phil bro. Oh my gosh, is Chris the Humanist really in here? He is one of my favorite human beings, Homo sapien human people, like ever. Well, at least on social media. I don't know him in real life, but Chris the Humanist, you got to be following him if you're not. Look at him giving the roses too. He spoils me. Chris is, I was falling asleep last night, Chris, when you came on, and I knew that if I tapped that screen and came in and started chatting with you, as much as I wanted to do it, I was half conscious, so I didn't come into the chat, but I saw you on there, and I wanted to join so badly, but I needed sleep desperately. Our daughter was visiting this week from California, and we had long days and long nights, and thanks, why bother for the follow? Thank you very much. But I wanted so badly to come in. I never miss your lives. That was one of the few ones that I had to intentionally miss because I knew if I got in there, I'd never get out. I'd want to stay for the whole thing. Yeah, it was a little bit on the later side. What else we got going on? Oh, that incense is going right into the house. I'm going to be in trouble. God's doing this on purpose. God is torturing me. He knows that my family doesn't like the incense in the house, and the incense is going straight. I don't know if you can see this. Do you see the smoke? It's really clear. I don't know if it picks up on the camera, but it's going right into the open door, going right in. So it's going to smell like a Hindu temple, one way or the other. It's going to smell like a Hindu temple, even though I'm trying to be good and light it only outside. There's not even a wind. There's not even a breeze, and it's going into the house. What's going to happen is people are going to say, were you lighting Nag Champa in the house again? I thought we had this conversation before. And you guys are my witnesses. Will you guys testify for me in court that I'm outside? See, there's like trees. It's not a green screen. I'm outside. I'm lighting it. I can't control the direction of the wind. I know what you're saying. You could close the door, stupid. Yeah, but I don't want to close the door because the dogs come in and out. If I close the door, then they'll start scratching at the door to go inside. And if they're inside, they're going to want to come outside. Thank you. We're on 5 acres, and we have like a perimeter fence. I don't know if you could see these, but these are down here. They're foxgloves. They're called foxgloves, and they're technically a weed, a very toxic weed, kind of like religion. Excuse me. I must have said something wrong. Very toxic. I think a little less toxic than religion, but there go the sprinklers. I'm wearing my intelligent noise reduction on my Kooky Home microphone, so I don't think you're going to hear much of the sprinklers. I did that on purpose because I said the sprinklers. It's going to be 90 something today in Western Washington. That's hot for us. It's going to be 90 something. So I'm running the sprinklers extra long to soak everything down so it doesn't start looking like California. You guys having a slow start too? Anybody want to hop into the guest box? All you have to do is be 18 or over. And I want to have like I'm going to see if I don't get agitated today. I'm going to try to not do my sarcastic voice either. I'm going to try not to do my, we're at 2,000 likes. Thank you. We're at 12 people. Usually we don't get to 12 people until the end. And they're all just there to see me finish the live so they can give me a standing O for ending. I'm going to try to not be sarcastic. It's very hard for me. I'm going to try to not do my little voice like this. Oh, Mr. Sky Daddy's going to save us all. I'll try not to do that voice. What's up, Loki? Good to see you. Greg, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. So I'll try not to be sarcastic. That's your favorite voice. I try not to. People say, why do you do that voice? I go, it's either that or smashing my head into the wall. So I do the voice. This incense is burning way too fast. Is it because there is a breeze? I know that oxygen fuels flame. I understand that. But man, I'm already halfway through the stick. I got to cut back. Gray says God is within. It's a pathway. I think everything, I'm a big mindset guy. I'm a big law of attraction guy. I'm a big introspective guy. And I think everything, and I got to start doing these more. I don't know what's holding me back. Something is holding me back, and I don't know what it is. But whenever I want to do one of those videos or lives, I end up doing a deconstruction one instead. It's almost like a crutch. Like I fall back on this, and I don't know why. Because I could do an entire TikTok account just on kind of metaphysics, the mind power, the placebo effect, mind over matter. But Grace, I'm with you in that regard. Everything is within. Everything is within. And I'm starting to really think the reason why believers have all these interactions with God and have all these things. And I remember I thought I had interactions with God too when I was younger. Is because that's where my mindset was. Like, if you believe fully in a God, you're more likely to see that God, right? If I believe in goodness, I'm more likely to see goodness. If I believe in conspiracies, I'm more likely to think that, ooh, the guy at Walmart gave me the wrong change. It must be a global conspiracy of the financial institutions. He shorted me 4 cents. There must be a conspiracy. Oh, I did the voice. I knew I wouldn't be able to not do the voice. Hey. No digging. You tend to see what your lens is focused on. So if you are a negative person, you tend to find negative people, you tend to find negative circumstances, and you tend to get negative results. Doesn't mean good things don't happen to you once in a while. And if you're a positive-minded person, you tend to find good people, goodness in things, and positive outcomes. Doesn't mean your life's always wonderful. But if you focus on, what's weird is yesterday, I'll give you an example of my reticular activating system. And that's a part of the brain that's really fascinating to me. It's basically the part of your brain that filters out all the stuff. I got a little wind blowing here, guys. Is it okay on the mic? The mic's on me here, so I should be kind of blocking. The wind seems to be coming from behind me. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Good to see you. Thomas, I always say that wrong. Tomaschetti. Tahir, good to see you in here. It sounds okay. All right, thank you. If it gets too windy, I'll go inside. So yesterday I had a weird thing going on where I kept seeing this Mazda. I don't even know what model it is. I had a Mazda for a while. Um, a Mazda 6 or something. I don't even know it wasn't anything big deal to remember. I don't remember what it was. But there's a color that Mazda has. It's a red, um, almost like a sparkly maroon or something. A reddish maroon color that Mazda has. And I noticed it yesterday. I go, God dang, I like that color a lot. I like that color and how it looks on those Mazdas. I must have counted 19 Mazdas yesterday. I don't know if Mazda's having like a Washington State sale right now where they're giving away Mazdas, but I must have counted 19 of those red Mazdas. And I don't remember seeing more than 2 of them in the last year. And I saw like 19 of them yesterday. I kept counting. And no, they weren't the same ones because I started getting paranoid. Because I was in the same general area. I didn't travel thousands of miles. So I go, is this the same car? And I'm just seeing it in multiple places. And even that would be kind of weird because I was all over the place. But I remember like the last couple numbers of the license plate. I go, that's not the same car. It's a woman driving this time. It was a dude last time. It's not the same car. This one has kids in the car. This one has a dog sticking its head out the window. And I go, God, why am I seeing this car? And it's because my brain was focused on that. And that's why you should always focus on what you want, not what you don't want. But see, I'm kind of good at talking about this stuff, but I want to talk about God today. I'll do a mind talk another time, all right? Maybe later. But I think everything's inside grace. To go back to your point, if you live from a God focal point, everything's going to be about God. If you come from a food focal point, you're probably going to be overweight, maybe obese, maybe morbidly obese. Maybe that's all you do is think about food. And when you think about food all the time, you tend to indulge in food all the time. And if your focus is on the gym, you're probably at the gym right now watching me. If your focus is on ill health, you're probably thinking you have a disease because you sneezed. A disease because you sneezed. And if you're a healthy type person, you're probably feeling really good right now, right? You're feeling really good because you're focusing on health. So what you focus on manifests to a degree, but what you focus on expands too. So if I focus on, oh, look, it's gone already almost. I had like a little, I'm starting to get, I don't feel old, but I'm starting to get kind of that crepey skin where like all I do is like touch myself like this and like I start bleeding for like 4 hours. And I never used to have that. But I haven't been focusing on this, so it's healing. When I focus on it, I pick at it, it bleeds more. I pick at it, it bleeds more, it scars up. See, I haven't thought about it in days, and now it's actually looking okay. So what you put your focus on expands. But anyway, if you focus on God, God's going to be like the number one thing in your life. If you focus on little white dogs with brown spots on their eyes, just as an example, you'll start seeing them everywhere. Oh, hello, baby. Hello, little white dog with a brown spot. Okay, get off the table. You know the other dogs aren't allowed on the table, and you're not allowed on the table either, okay? Thank you. Oh, my incense went out. My incense went out. My Nag Champa. I thought it stopped. Did you guys notice that? It stopped smelling like a Hindu temple in here? Could you guys pick up on that? Somebody should have told me it stopped smelling. I love that smell. Sometimes I wish I lived in a Hindu temple. Thanks for all the gifts. God, I look away for a second. There's more gifts. Maybe I'll look away more often. Okay, what else we got here? Anybody want to call up? Got a couple good questions. Let's see. Oh, I missed that one. Thank you, Chris. What made you Christian in the first place? I was raised in it. I'll be honest with you. If I had been raised by Hindus, I'd probably be a Hindu. If I was raised by Buddhists, I'd probably be a Buddhist. If I was raised by Muslims, I'd probably be Islamic. If I was raised by pagans, I'd probably be pagan. I mean, we tend to be, not always. I know people are born again and people discover religion at all ages and times in their life. But generally speaking, I think it's without question, the majority of religious people are the religion that they were raised with. It just stands to reason. There's not a whole lot of people that were raised in militant Islamic families who are Baptists. There just aren't a lot. It's not even a sizable number. I wouldn't even say it's like 1%. If I was raised in Syria by militant Islamic parents, I would not be an evangelical Christian. It just wouldn't happen. I wouldn't be an evangelical Christian raised in Syria by militant Islamic parents. Wouldn't happen. Same way if I were, God, this incense is, I'm going to put it out, I think. It's too much. It's too much Hindu temple today. Too much. I feel like I'm smoking. Okay, so if I were raised in the Bible Belt, if I was raised in Alabama, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said Alabama. I've never been to Alabama. I don't know if they say Alabama, but if I was raised in Alabama to Christian, conservative, God-fearing evangelical parents, I would probably not be a Muslim. Probably not. Probably not. So to answer your question, the only way I know how to answer questions is the long, complicated way, is I was a Christian for 40 years because I was raised as a Christian. I went to parochial school. I was taught that the Bible was correct. I was taught that the Bible never made mistakes. I was taught that the Bible was the Word of God. And I believed it because these are the people I loved and trusted. And if the people I loved and trusted said, this book is holy, you should read it. It has the answers to the universe in it. Your God speaks to you through this book. Who am I to say otherwise, right? I mean, I believed my dad when he told me the Easter Bunny was real. Why wouldn't I believe him that God was real? Why wouldn't I believe that? I mean, I believed all crazier stuff than that, right? I believed that there was a little... There I go with the sarcastic voice. I knew I couldn't do it.
I was taught that there was a little fairy that would come up to my bedside and want my dirty yellow teeth and loved my teeth so much it would leave me money.
What kind of a whacked out pervo is that? No wonder no wonder we're all like on a psychiatrist's couch at some point in our lives. No wonder we're all in like deep therapy at some point in our lives. Our parents raised us with this myth that there's a little fairy that's obsessed with teeth. Cavity teeth, rotten teeth, yellow teeth, broken teeth. It doesn't matter. This fairy needs your teeth, and he needs them so much, or she needs them so much that they're willing to put money under your pillow for your freaking teeth. And not just your teeth, the teeth of all the children of all the world, see? And we believed it. We believed for a while anyway, most of us. Could have been a short window. It could have been like when you were 5. Could have been when you were 15. Could have been a short little 3-month period or a 3-year period. But you believe, chances are, if you were raised in the Western world, that there was a little winged fairy that came into your room late at night, and you had to be sure to put your tooth that fell out the day before under the pillow, and this fairy was somehow so obsessed with your teeth that he was willing to pay market value for them. You believe that. You believe that. And many of us, if not most of us, at some point in our lives, were taught that God was real, that this version of God was real, that these gods were real, that this pantheon was real, that this, whatever it happened to be, Mother Earth was the god, or Zeus was the god, or whatever it was. And we tended to believe it because we were taught at a young age, at a very impressionable age, by people we trusted and loved. And like, why would they fuck around with our heads, right? Why would they tell us that the devil's real if he's not? Why would they tell us that heaven's a real place if it's not? Why would they tell us that our soul's on the line if we misbehave, if it's not true? Why would they tell us any of this stuff? Right? That's the hardest thing about religion, guys, is that it's usually taught to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. See, I have mixed feelings about this. I just got a heartbeat by a guy with the name Fuck You, and who was very disparaging to me and to my friends yesterday on the live I did yesterday. So I have mixed feelings, like being grateful for someone, like they're gifting the heck out of me. So why are they gifting me if they're insulting me? Does anybody know? Chris, do you get that a lot? I mean, I know I give you lots of hearts. You give me lots of hearts. But like, why would what is the point of not liking somebody? I don't get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it would be like me watching Donald Trump on TV and applauding him, or going to a speech he's giving in town or something and applauding Trump. I don't like Trump, so why would I applaud him? It would be like me standing up and going like this to Trump and going, mwah, bravo, bravo, bravissimo. Why would I do that? I wouldn't do that. I don't like Trump, so I'm not going to applaud him. So people don't like me and they give me hearts. And I don't understand the phenomenon. You're encouraging me. You're emboldening me. You're strengthening the algorithm for me. You're making things go my way. And then you disparage me. You insult my viewers. So I don't know what the end goal is by making me more successful. I don't get it. What was the other question, Chris? I missed it. I'm going all the way back and I missed the other question someone had. I hope you guys will call me. I like taking calls. I really do. That's the highlight for me, is taking calls. I don't see the other question. I'm scrolling back. Why am I missing the other question? If somebody wants to write it again, don't spam me, but if I do look like I honestly missed your question, then ask it again. Here's one, James Gibson Jr. What's a deconstructed Christian? That means I'm no longer a Christian. Basically, I'm an ex-Christian. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that. You could be a deconstructed Christian who still believes to some degree. So I don't want to be the one defining that. For me, deconstruction means taking apart a belief system. It's come to be regarded, tied in with religion, but I deconstructed from right-wing politics also. I used to be a right-wing whack job on the radio, and I'm no longer one. So you can deconstruct from politics. Most commonly, it's referred to as deconstructing from religion. You can deconstruct from any type of mindset or philosophy or dogma, political party. You can deconstruct from the Democratic Party. You can deconstruct from being a socialist. You can deconstruct from all sorts of things. But for me, it means I took apart my religion piece by it's almost like a literal but also figurative thing you can imagine, like deconstructing. Like if I take the Bible and I deconstructed it, like instead of just reading it, saying everything's right, everything's real, everything's 100% true, because that's what mom and dad told me, and that's what my teachers and all the priests told me, it's all real. Deconstructing would be reading it word for word, paragraph by paragraph, the way a space alien would, with no skin in the game, with no preconceived notions of any truth or reality being in this book. If I handed this book over to a space alien and I said nothing, I said, this is a book I want you to read. I don't say it's true. I don't say you have to believe it. I don't say if you don't believe it, you go to hell. I don't say anything about it. And I just give it to someone who doesn't know anything about it and just reads it. And a space alien is a good example because maybe they don't know what the Bible is, right? Everyone on Earth pretty much knows what the Bible is. I don't think there's any adult. I mean, I guess there's maybe some still like Aboriginal tribes in the world that might have no comprehension of modern religions. I don't know. But like your average adult, most places on Earth know what the Bible is, and they have preconceived notions of it, whether favorable or unfavorable. But a space alien wouldn't care. Space alien just says, I'm bored. Give me something to read. So you give them the Bible and have them read it as a non-judgmental, no skin in the game reader and observer and see what they say about it. So yeah, it just means I'm an for me, it means I'm an ex-Christian. I deconstruct it, and I no longer hold the same belief systems that I did before. Hope that answers that. Starry Night says, God still has a plan for you, bud. Hope you find yourself. See, this is a very unkind comment. I'm going to spend a couple moments on this one from Starry Night if they're still here to hear my answer. Let me deconstruct this comment. And again, there's no emotions in comments. That's why I hate texting. Like when my wife and I get into arguments and we text each other, it's the worst thing, right? Anybody who's a couple, or you argue with your parents or your best friend or your roommate, don't ever do it by texting, right? Where did it go? There it goes. Why does it do that? Why does it bump like that? I went back, but okay. So anyway, there's no emotion in this, but I'm putting emotion into it. So here's how I'm reading it. God still has a plan for you, bud. I don't like bud. Bud is very sarcastic. Like I would only say that kind of in a sarcastic way, like, hey, bud, right? Like you don't know me, I don't know you, so don't call me bud, right? So already I kind of sense the sarcasm there. God still has a plan for you, bud. That's a claim. You don't know that to be true, Starry Night. You assume that to be true. I assumed it to be true. And if God has a plan for me, then you're pretty much admitting there is no free will. Because if God's plan is for me to be the most famous painter in the universe, and he's already set that out for me since the time I was an embryo, that I'm going to be the most famous painter in the world, then I can't choose to be a truck driver. I can't choose to be a writer. I can't choose to be a radio talk show host as I chose for my career. I can't choose to be a teacher. I can't choose to be any of those things because God already has his plan for me is to be the most famous painter in the world. So a couple of things are going on here. Either I have the power to defy God, which would make me more powerful than God. If I can defy God and derail, not so much defy God, but derail God's plan for me. Like if it's all, no pun intended, in the stars starry night, that I am to be the world's most famous painter, and I decide I'm going to be an 18-wheeler driver, I'm going to drive 18-wheelers for a living, then I had the power to derail God's plan. Obviously, God's plan when he made me was to be the world's most famous painter. But what happens if I become a truck driver, show no interest in art, and never take a paintbrush to a canvas ever? Then I don't become the world's most famous painter. So that means God's will is weak. It means God's will is more like God's hope, not God's will at that point. If God has a will and thy will be done, then I can't become anything other than the world's most famous painter. And in terms of hope you find yourself, that's so condescending, almost to the point where I feel like muting you, honestly, because I don't expect anything better to come out of your mouth after that comment. I have found myself. I didn't find myself when I was a good little robot, when I was a good little Christian, kneeling when they said to kneel, standing when they said to stand, YMCA, when I was doing all the moves because the priest said to. I didn't find myself then. When I was groveling to an invisible sky daddy for my very sustenance, because the Bible said, look at the birds of the air. Look at the birds. They don't toil, they don't work, they don't stress, and your heavenly Father feeds the birds. Really? We have some pretty hard-working birds in this field and in this forest, and they're out there before I'm awake, getting the worms out of the ground. You think God individually put the earthworms there and made the robin go to those places to get the worm? Or do you think that robin maybe tried 10,000 times prior to that and didn't get any worms? So I think the birds deserve more credit. I think the birds deserve more credit. I don't see any bird seed being thrown for the birds. I don't see them. I see them working all day long. I see squirrels in the tree. We have little chipmunks that are like this big. And we have tall trees here in the forest, as you can imagine. And these little I saw one chipmunk once, and I did a video of it. I couldn't believe it. I'm such a city boy. I couldn't believe it. This chipmunk went to the top of the tree and was rattling acorns or whatever, shaking the branches. And I heard things falling from the tree, and I go, what the heck am I hearing? And I saw the little acorns hit the ground, hit the ground, hit the ground. This little squirrel, one squirrel, was hitting every branch on this tree, shaking it, and getting all the acorns to fall off it that he could. Then came to the bottom of the tree, and he had enough acorns probably to last him all year long. The squirrel did all that work. God didn't. God could have just made the acorns appear for him on the ground, and he could have just been lazy, gotten up late, said, I'm just going to watch TV and Netflix today, and thank you, God, for my sustenance. There it is on the ground. I'll just pick it up. Thank you very much. So yeah, I used to believe all the bullshit in the Bible, like your heavenly Father takes care of the birds of the air. They don't have to work. They don't have 9-to-5 jobs, and he takes care of them. So how much more would God not take care of you? Oh, I don't know. Take a look at the homelessness rates in this country. Look at the schmiddiction rates in this country. Look at the veterans who don't have homes. Look at the people that are jobless right now. Look at all the people who are poor and starving in the world. Well, I don't know. My heavenly Father is supposed to take care of them. We have 26 shares. Wow. Sometimes I think the less I look at that, the less right? We have 31 people watching. I would have guessed like 6 or 7. So thank you very much, 31 people watching. My God. So I have found myself. I'm happier now. I wonder if you found yourself, because when you are a Christian, when you are a believer, your whole identity revolves around something that can't be seen, touched, smelled, heard, felt. I think I said felt. So that's not finding yourself. You're living for something else. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. You're living for an invisible entity that will never, ever, ever be proven to be real, unless that God, the only way God can be proven real is if God decides to come out of the clouds, which isn't going to happen. The rapture was made up in the 1830s, guys. I hate to burst your bubble, but the rapture wasn't even a thing until 200 years ago. 200 years ago? Can you believe the rapture is not even 200 years old? There are some land tortoises that are older than the rapture. What does that tell you? There are some creatures swimming in the sea that are older than the rapture. This fantasy that Jesus is going to come out of the clouds on a horse, on his little horsey. And if you're lucky, he'll have room on the horsey for you, and then you guys will go in. Yeah, I knew I was going to be able to not do that voice. You're going to go up into a cloud. You're going to get chucked into the vortex. You're going to go into heaven. I think it would be less silly for a 50-year-old man or woman to believe in Santa Claus still than to believe that a Middle Eastern guy in sandals and a robe and a beard is going to come out of a cloud riding a horse and take you off. They're going to just ride off into the sunset. And all us miserable heathens will be left behind to suffer. How is that not any less silly than a grown adult believing in leprechauns, honestly? How is it any different? Answer, it's not different. I have quieted the mind in the silent space. God speaks to you. Grace, I've done all that. I've done all that. It's your own voice. That's called intuition. It is not God talking to you, I promise you. And there's no way to demonstrate it's God. Because God will never say anything to you. God will never whisper into that silent space, Grace, something that no one's ever known. I would be knocked down. I would be really impressed if God ever whispered to a follower, I want you to write this down. It is the formula for the cure for cancer. Will you write it down? That would be impressive. If someone said, I had a vision last night, God, but these visions where someone's already in a half sleepy state, they're dreaming most likely. You were probably dreaming. You were in a deep meditation. I go into trances that are so intense, you wouldn't even believe it. I went into a trance just in the last couple years, I think it was. It stands out to me because it was so intense. I had such a good memory of being a kid in San Francisco, and my friends and I, this is the 1980s now, when Apple computers were just brand new, right? Macintoshes were brand new, and the Apple IIc and everything. And we would, Apple computers were just brand new, right? Macintoshes were brand new, and the Apple IIc and everything. And we would go downtown after school when our parents let us, and we would spend our allowance money on diskettes, floppy disks, not the hard ones, but the floppy disks. That's how old I am. And I remember this store that we would go to, but I didn't quite remember all the details I wanted to remember, but I remember the store we would go to. So I went into kind of like a trance, and it was almost like a time machine because I felt I was there. It was so real. I remembered the stuff that was hanging on the walls. I remembered the smell of the store. I remembered what the guy looked like who sold us the diskettes. I remembered all this stuff. And I even went on Google Earth, and I was able to locate, just from this experience I had, the exact location of the store. Because I had Googled it, and I was trying to find, like, with Google, like, how could I not find the name of the store, right? Like, how could I not locate this store? I was able to locate it. I went on Street View. I zoomed in, and there it was. It was obviously probably 100 different businesses since the early 80s, but it wasn't the same business. But I remembered the brick front. I remembered the street that it was on. I remembered the path we took to get there from school. And it all came back to me, and it was so intense. Does that mean I time traveled? Mentally, maybe I did. Maybe emotionally, I did. Spiritually, I time traveled. But that was just an experience, right? But when God's talking to you, it's very similar. But you don't know that it's God talking to you. You want it to be God talking to you, right? Same way, like if you really loved your mother and your mother's been gone a long time, and you get that little intuitive voice saying, you know what? You did good, son. You did good, honey. I'm proud of you, or whatever. You might interpret that. That may just be your own voice, your own subconscious telling you you've done good in life and patting you on the back. But you, missing your mother, might interpret that voice as being a feminine voice, being the voice of your mom. Hey, next thing you know, my mom was talking to me while I was, I woke up from a nap and my mom was there. I felt her in the room and she was talking to me and she told me how proud of me she was. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, but if you had a very tumultuous relationship with your mother, or you never knew your mother, or your mother walked out on you, or your mother was abusive, and that kind voice was talking to you, you might not associate it with your mother, right? It wouldn't make sense for you to say, oh, my mom came to visit me. And you're like, well, your mom hated you. Why would your mom give you like loving advice? Oh, yeah, you're right. So it might be your grandmother. The voice might become your grandmother. It might become your uncle. It might become your brother who you lost at a young age. You attribute things. The mind does that. The mind attributes things to relatable things, things we want it to be. I always give the example of Bigfoot hunting. I go on Bigfoot expeditions. I used to go on them like every year. I haven't been on one in like 4 years, 3 years maybe. But I love going out with Bigfoot people because every time a branch breaks in the middle of the night, guess what they think it is? Well, they don't think it's a squirrel. They don't think it's a deer trotting around. They think it's a Sasquatch. You go out with a bunch of dudes in sleeping bags and a bunch of women too in sleeping bags, and they hear a branch break in the middle of the night. It can't be that it was struck by lightning. It has to be like a Sasquatch. It has to be. I remember watching those Bigfoot shows. I'd watch like Finding Bigfoot, and it used to drive me bananas. I don't even know why I watched that show so much. I think it's because for the comedic value. But every person, they're like, yeah, I saw that guy. He was standing about 400 yards that way, right back where that shed is. Oh, wow, that's like a mile away. Yeah, and I could see clearly it was a female Sasquatch. And I could tell because it had parts that I didn't have, so I knew it was a woman Squatch. And that Squatch was right over yonder. Right? So from this distance, that Squatch would have been like the size of an ant. Wow. And you knew that, yeah, that was a Squatch. You're right, 100% that was a Squatch. That show used to drive me nuts. I heard somebody tapping on the window at 3 in the morning. Who else would tap on a window at 3 in the morning other than a Sasquatch in these woods? Oh, yeah, you're right. You saw a Squatch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, goody, you get a little pat on the head. You guys saw a Squatch.
I'm not trying to be too sarcastic, Grace. But I think I made the point. Anyway, look at all these gifts. Thank you. But you see what I'm saying? Like, and someone who doesn't believe in a Squatch is going to be in that sleeping bag and they hear a branch break and they're like, fucking kidding me. Sasquatch. Right? Someone who believes in God, I don't know, a plane is about to hit a building and it goes off at the last minute. Thank you for the heart me to hear. Good to see you. And I think that was from you there. I scrolled back. So whoever sent the latest heart me, thank you. And to hear, thank you for all the gifts, helping me grow the garden. I thought that was a cute little gift. It's only a penny. And I like gardens and stuff. So someone might attribute that to the grace of God, right? The airplane veering right at the last second away from the building and bringing everybody to safety. That's the work of God. Or it could be the work of a very, very skilled pilot. I tend to think it's the work of a skilled pilot, not God, because if God keeps planes from crashing, then God doesn't keep all planes from crashing because planes crash every year. So that means God was either asleep, he was fishing, or he just doesn't want to save all planes from crashing, I guess. But see, that's the tricky part is once you attribute God having the ability to save a plane from crashing, then he either saves all planes from crashing or he picks his favorites, right? Right? Same thing with like cancer. Like God cured my best friend of cancer. Well, why does he cure my fucking mother from cancer then? Why doesn't he cure your son from cancer? Why doesn't he cure all cancer? Oh, my cousin's neighbor's uncle's mailman. He had throat cancer and then it was gone. And it was Jesus that took it away from him. Really? So the hundreds of thousands of people that die of throat cancer every year,
they just don't know the Lord Jesus Christ as well as you do, I guess, as well as your friend's neighbor's uncle's mailman did, because he got cured of cancer and you didn't.
Somar, thank you for the rose. I'm trying to be funny here, guys. Oh my God, Perry, what did you eat yesterday? I think I'm going to relight the incense. I cannot. I'm outside and this dog's going to cause an explosion with his gas. Maybe I shouldn't light an open flame. See, that's the quandary that Christians come into. They can't explain it. They want to explain miracles. But again, if your son is cured of cancer, your grandmother's cured of dementia, it's just suddenly gone, all her memories come back and she's totally fine. She comes out of the hospital and she goes back home and no sign of dementia, then God is either very, very limited in his power or definitely has his favorites, or is just kind of an asshole. Because if he's able to take dementia away from your grandmother, he should take it away from all grandmothers, all grandfathers, all fathers, all mothers, all sons, all daughters, right? He shouldn't hold out. So that's why I don't like personal experience stories. I don't like it when people share these stories like, oh, well, I know God cures. He cured me, man. Oh, you're so special then, because there are billions of people on this earth that he's not helping. So let's weigh it. He helps Joe Schmo, some schmuck in New Jersey, get over his migraine, and all these people are suffering, right?
Oh, he saved your grandmother from her headache, but the Schmolocaust still happened. Oh, what? Praise Jesus. What a good Lord he is. He saved your grandmother's headache, but 6 million people in the Schmolocaust didn't get so lucky.
That's why when people say, I have a personal story to share with you, and I'm like, God, if you really have to share it, maybe if I'm in the mood, I'll hear it. But it means nothing to me, because there are people that believe fairies visited them last night. They believe alien abducted them last night for a couple hours. They believe all sorts of things. And if you listen to every person's personal story, you're just left with a bunch of people's personal stories. You're not any closer to the truth than anything else. Do I believe in aliens? It's funny how we call them aliens, and I fall prey to that as well. I call them aliens, but they're just kind of like life forms, right? Like we're aliens to them. We're aliens to anything else that might be out there. So when they say, do you believe in aliens? And then to another race of creatures, a guy with a bald head in a tortoise sea turtle shirt would be an alien. Like I would look like an alien to somebody on Mars, right? I'd be the alien. So alien's kind of a loaded word. I would say, I think what you're saying is like intelligent life. And I think possibly that's another thing that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, is that God made such an expansive, eternal universe for just us on one tiny speck of sand. I don't understand why God would have used up all that energy, all the matter, all the material, all the mass, it just seems like a lot of real estate to have to vacuum every day, the entire universe. That's a big vacuum job. And there wasn't really a need to, because if we're the shit and we're the only life out there, the universe could have been really small. And that's why I don't believe in intelligent design. I think this was it just happened. I don't have an explanation for how, but the fact that the universe is ever expanding, vast, endless, there are trillions and trillions of stars we will never see, trillions and trillions of planets we will never experience. That leads a rational person to think that wasn't created by God, because it wouldn't make sense for God to create all that stuff any more than it would make sense for God to create a delicious fruit for us, but it's 400 trillion light years away, right? Like, who's going to eat that fruit? Like, why would God have put a fruit on a tree if no one's there to eat it? But if you believe in just kind of the universe either always being here or just being here because of natural reasons, it would make sense if there was an apple tree on Jupiter and no one's there to eat it. It would just make sense, because maybe apple trees grow on Jupiter, whether anybody eats them or not, right? Some planets, if they have a body of water on them, they might not have fish in them. They might not have fishermen. They might not have anybody swimming, going for a skinny dip, but they still have water. So obviously, maybe planets just have water, whether there's creatures in there to fish or not, right? There could just be a planet with a body of water just because there's a planet with a body of water. There's like no reason for it. That seems to make the most sense to me. I mean, the fact that God would make all this space so infinite you can't wrap your brain around that. You can't make that make sense. There's no reason why God would create an endless universe for a very finite species of life forms that he created. It would make sense if every one of those planets and star systems was populated by other humans. Then it would make sense. And it doesn't. Another thing that doesn't make sense with Christianity is God's pro-life, even though he unalived more people than every human on Earth combined ever did. But aside from that, we say that God's pro-life, right? He encourages life. He loves life. Then why so many inhospitable places in space? Why the barrenness of space? Why the lifelessness out there if God is so pro-life? In other words, if humans made him happy, presumably, he wanted to create us for whatever reason, like it brought him joy, I guess, to have little robots running around. Why not 1,000 Earths? Why not 500 million Earths? Why not make it so we're all aware of each other? Why? It doesn't make sense that if he loved us so much that he created us, why not create more of us? Right? I mean, why wouldn't every planet in the solar system have humans on it? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you think about it. That God's so pro-life and yet 99% of space is inhospitable to life. Much of the earth, the majority of the water on earth is undrinkable. I heard an analogy that if your house was the planet, like 1 square inch of your house would be where you'd have to live, because everywhere else in your house you couldn't breathe, you couldn't exist. It would be too hot, too cold. So if God's so pro-life, why would he make it so that there are people on earth that can't drink the local water because it'll unalive them? Does that make sense to you? Like, why would God not make all water drinkable? That's another good question. Without me doing the sarcastic voice, isn't it a reasonable question? And if I miss comments, guys, that's another reason why I want you to hop into the guest box, because I'll see that light up and it's in my brain. It says I have a guest. See, like right there, we have a guest. Why wouldn't God make all water drinkable? Just an honest question. Like, God loves us. He's pro-life. He's pro, why would he make water that's undrinkable but to humans? Why would he make poisonous mushrooms? Why would he make vegetation that will unalive you within minutes of eating it? Why would he do that? Like, why wouldn't everything be edible? Kind of like in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Why wouldn't everything, like the teacups, everything's edible? Why would God put any toxins on the earth where an unknowing squirrel, an unknowing dog? There are some mushrooms. When we moved to the Pacific Northwest, real quick, and then I'll get to the guests. We were so terrified of all the mushrooms that grow here because there are some that are very toxic. So I'm thinking, why? I always think, like, why would God do that? Why would God create a mushroom that would grow like blades of grass in my woods that could unalive my pets? Thank you for the heart me. Why would he do that? What does he have against my dogs? Like, my dog doesn't know any better. My dog sniffs around a mushroom, and if it eats the wrong one, it could pass on. It could pass. It could expire. It could unalive. Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he just make it so, just to be safe, every mushroom that ever grows on the earth is edible? Or at least not toxic. Maybe it tastes garbage and you want to spit it out, but why make it so it would unalive you? Okay, let's go to our first guest here. It took a while, and I'm only going to be here, guys, for another half hour because I got to get ready. I'm heading out with my mother-in-law to go to the farmer's market to see my wife and daughter, and they sell candles, their own homemade candles. We're going to go hang out with them, go to a nursery, a plant nursery, not like a baby nursery. Yep. Let's see if we connect here. Thanks, Caroline, for being.
Good morning.
Hello there. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm so happy. I love what you're talking about.
Well, thank you. I
And I
appreciate it.
have another thing that I always think of is what good God would create a life for animals and us like that we have to kill to survive. It's
Yeah.
so
Be
brutal
careful with the
in
words too, by
nature.
the way, because
Oh,
don't
I'm
say the
so
K
sorry.
word.
Yeah.
Say unalive if you can. No, it's
Oh, I'm
okay.
sorry.
I
Will
forget
do.
sometimes.
But you
Um,
understand, I look at all that you're saying true, like the universe is so vast and it doesn't make sense. All the whole stories, all of them, they don't make sense.
yeah.
Even the Ten Commandments is such BS,
Oh gosh, yeah.
but I
It should
love
be
what
like
you're
it
talking
should be
about.
like the Three Commandments, because only 3 of them are worth keeping. It should be the Three Commandments.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, why the need for, like, why wouldn't we all be herbivores, right?
Right,
Like, why
exactly.
wouldn't we? I had an idea too, Ellen. Is that how you say your name, El?
Yeah, oh,
Okay, so El. So
short for Eleanor.
I'm sorry. This incense keeps blowing in my face. I like it, but not when it blows in my face. So I'm going to put it out. Yeah, I had an idea. Like, whenever I do the topic, I'd be a better God than Yahweh. It drives people nuts, but it's true. I would. Here's my idea. If I were, like an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving God, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would here's what I would do if I were an all-powerful God. I would created a high nourishment, high protein, high fiber food source. That's like I call it my magic blueberry. And these blueberries would grow in the desert in 125-degree weather. It would grow in Phoenix. It would grow in San Francisco in the fog. It would grow in fields. It would grow on mountaintops. It would grow in the snow. It would grow in the sand. It would grow these magic blueberries, and everyone on Earth could eat them. It helped their digestion. It wasn't it wasn't toxic. It tasted good. Like somehow every taste bud on Earth would agree that it had a good taste to it. And they were everywhere, in the trees and the grass, everywhere you went. You couldn't go 10 feet without having a magic blueberry at your disposal.
Right.
Imagine what that would do for hunger, for starvation, for kids in Africa, for kids in America, for kids who don't have enough to eat, for parents who don't have enough to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that.
I
We would still have to like have
that,
jobs
yeah.
and put gas in our cars. But wouldn't it be great if God had alleviated a little bit of the tension by making this magic blueberry? It was plentiful. You didn't have to pay for it. You didn't have to spend your last dime of your paycheck on it. You didn't have to put it on a credit card and put yourself more in debt. It would just be everywhere, hanging from every tree.
You know what? If I was an all-powerful God, I would get rid of digestion all over. I mean, there would be no need for food or even going to the bathroom or any of that. I'd make us perfect beings that we don't need nutrition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love what you're saying.
The argument that Christians use is that we were perfect until Adam and Eve. That's their argument for everything. There weren't earthquakes until Adam and Eve. There wasn't dementia until Adam and Eve. There wasn't
It's so true.
domestic violence
And
until
Adam and Eve didn't know what they were doing. They didn't have the knowledge to know they're doing something bad. You know, they were. So I don't know. It just is such garbage.
It really is. For God always to be testing us, whenever I hear people, sometimes I'll listen to TikTok. I don't watch it. I listen to it. And I even put my phone in the back seat so I'm not tempted to look at it or touch it or anything. But I listen to audio from lives. Like I'll start a live that I know is going to be on for a while on my commute to work, right? And I'll listen to arguments. And whenever I hear people arguing, apologizing for God and like, well, you know, everything was perfect until Adam and Eve. That's such a cop-out.
It is.
It's such a claim. I mean, we don't know that everything was perfect. And this idea that people used to live to be 1,000 years old and God intended us to be immortal and stuff. Imagine what it would do. Like think of an all-knowing God making us live for 1,000 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, let's say, are you in America? I'm in America. Are you? What country are you?
Yeah, I'm in the United States. I'm right near Pennsylvania, or I'm in Pennsylvania near Philly.
Okay. Well, picture if we all lived to be 1,000 years old, what that would do to the welfare system, what that would do to unemployment, what that would do to Social Security, what that would, like if we lived, I mean, we're already seeing what's happening, that we're living longer, what that's doing to like the retirement age, what it's doing to pensions, what it's doing all this stuff, healthcare, hospice care, right? What would happen if we lived to be 1,000 years old? Like would an all-knowing God have calculated how horrible that would be for the earth if humans had that long of a lifespan? Imagine.
And if we could still reproduce, I mean,
oh my gosh,
it's so crazy.
Imagine the waste, the burden, the resources eaten up by people that lived 1,000 years. I mean,
right.
But I guess that's what God wanted. Like
so
God had planned out. Like people are starving now. Imagine if they didn't unalive ever. We'd be eating each other. I mean, what would we do?
Right.
I mean, well, hey, I appreciate it, Elle.
I agree.
Very nice.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so happy to find you. And you're awesome. Have a wonderful day today.
Well, I'm trying to, I don't see the option to follow you. So maybe, do I already follow you?
Yeah, I think we're already, because I don't see it either.
Oh, yeah. We're already friends.
Buddies.
Like that, so. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Okay.
Take care, Spencer. Bye.
You too. Thank you very much. What a nice call. W's for Elle there in the chat. Let's give her big W's. Let's go to another caller here. Let's go to Casb. I think it is KASB. I don't know how to say half these names. How old are you, by the way, just to make sure?
Oh, I'm 24.
Okay. How do you say that? Casb?
Casb, yeah.
Casb. Okay. Hey, what's on your mind today?
Oh, I've never actually seen her live before. I just joined up, but I do have some notes about my views on Christian God and all that.
Okay. Are you a believer, by the way? So I know where we're.
No, not at all.
Okay. Well,
But this stance is like if the religion was real. I have these notes. Is if I assess God's goodness and intelligence based purely on their commandments, actions, and communication methods. Oh God, I'm nervous.
Well, don't be nervous.
I know. I just need to breathe.
Yeah. No. It's sounding great.
Then the God of the Bible seems quite cruel, petty, limited, and careless. I'd have an easier time believing that the Bible was written by Satan in disguise than an actual all-loving and all-wise God.
Wow.
As far as why
This is good stuff. I love it.
As far as why the
All
real
true.
God would allow Satan to write the Bible and fool people would be because the real God wants people to figure things out for themselves, and the Bible is just a trap/test. Humans get zero hand-holding when it comes to science and every other area of life, but apparently spirituality is the one area where hand-holding is allowed. These are the reasons I think God of the Bible is more likely to be Satan in disguise than the real God. Jesus, I have a bunch of examples. Jesus contradicted the old God of the Old Testament and was trying to point out that the God of the Old Testament was immoral and not who he claims. Example 1, the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? For there is no food and no water, and we detest the miserable food. Then the Lord sent poisonous serpents among these people, and they bit the people so that the Israelites died. Number 21, 5 through 6. Is there anyone among you who, if your child asks for bread, will give a stone, or if the child asks for a fish, would give a snake? Matthew 7, 9, 10. I don't know. I have a bunch of examples I can go through, but
you know your Bible better than most believers do.
Yeah, I grew up Mormon actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say anything disparaging about Mormons, but I'm starting to. I got it on Kindle, and I think I must have read it when I was in college or maybe even high school. Out of curiosity, the Book of Mormon, but I have a copy of it on my bookshelf, like I have copies of the Bible. So I think I got it on Kindle or something, and that's some wild stuff. I mean, I'll just leave it at that. Mormons believe in some really wild shit, and
even
so
up until
crazy. I don't know how they believe any more than Christians believe their Bible and stuff too. I mean, they are Christians, but Mormonism is like a whole different breed of animal.
Mormonism is pretty crazy. Like even up until the 1980s, they taught that the reason people were black is that they fought against the Lord or something like that, and that their sins turned their skin black.
Yeah, that's in the Book of Mormon. And, I hear a lot of apologetics for that passage as well, but it says what it says.
Yeah,
and just the whole kind of. It's just weird to me. I think it's interesting that there's a parallel between a lot of prophets' religion having a thing for young women, like really young women, right? Like immorally young women. But I see a parallel kind of with a lot of evangelical preachers and stuff. You see them it seems like 1 week doesn't go by that one of them's not being incarcerated or investigated for relations with a minor. Don't you think that's interesting that people who are leaders within their religions and preachers within their religions have such a problem with keeping their hands off of underage people? I mean, it's interesting to me. But then you look at Muhammad, you look at Joseph Smith, you look at all these people, and you're like, it kind of makes sense. I mean, there's some connection. It's a weird connection, but there's some connection with religious zealotry and having relations with 9-year-olds and 11-year-olds and 15-year-olds.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to me.
Yeah, I've seen that throughout religious history all the time. But yeah, I just take the stance. I think of myself as an atheist. I don't think there's a possibility of God. But if there was, I think that if the Christian Bible was real, that it's actually created by the devil and the God is just there to test you, and he's not putting his hands in anything, and that it's an actual test, and the devil is trying to take over the planet, as is predicted in the Bible with false religions and everything. I just take the stance that maybe God doesn't intervene at all, and that's all the devil.
Yeah. Well, that theory makes more sense. If there is a God, it's definitely a non-intervening God. I don't think you can make a very good argument that God's touching our day-to-day activities with any kind of degree of grace, kindness, or love, or thoughtfulness, or anything like that, because we wouldn't have all the issues we have now.
Yeah.
But Cas, I really appreciate hearing from you, and
Yeah.
I hope you will call me again. Okay. W's for Cas. This is great. We have 2 for 2 for callers. No pressure. No pressure from people. Senrid lives in Alabama. I hope I wasn't out being too facetious when I do my Alabama voice. People have, I'm sure they don't talk that way. I know, Samuel. People say I look like Louis Litt. I know. I've never watched an episode of Suits, but yeah, I guess I have some resemblance to that guy. And I don't think I answered Grace's question about do I believe in aliens. I went on that whole tangent. I believe there's a very good chance there's other intelligent life out there in the universe. Nicole says, I was saved 4 times and baptized once. Wish I never taught my kids any one religion was correct. That's a good one. It's true. And that's what I don't like about world religions is really for one to be true, the others have to be wrong, or at least mostly wrong, partly wrong. And I don't think religions, particularly Christianity, see how arrogant and cruel it is to just write off billions of other human beings on this planet that through no fault of their own believe in a whole separate scheme of God concepts than they do. It's so disparaging, it's so flippant, it's so rude, it's so unchristian to look at billions of Hindus and just say, you guys are just kooks, you're wrong. This isn't, your gods are the fake gods, mine's the real God. It's just, it's so wacky, this insistence that your God is the one true God. When God's invisible, God's not making the case for himself. It's so weird to me that people get on sides like, my God's better than your God. And God's invisible. God's not speaking up for himself. God could determine that if he wanted to. Yahweh could come down right now and say, I am truly more powerful than Vishnu or Ganesh or any of these other gods, and doesn't do that. So he leaves humans to be squabbling forever, defending him. John says, only reason people believe in ridiculous fantasies like Jesus or all this because they were indoctrinated. I tend to agree with you. It's the same thing with the R word. I got to be very careful here. The R word, even the S word, those things have to be taught. If you put a bunch of, and I know this because I raised 6 kids, you put a bunch of toddlers in preschool and they're hugging each other, kissing each other, they're playing with each other. The little white kid's not looking at the little black kid or the Asian kid or the Hispanic kid or the this kid or the Native American kid. They're not looking at each other the way adults tend to look at each other, right? Through more jaded eyes and maybe through the eyes of prejudice and things like that. A little white kid will wrap his arms around a little black kid and they're best friends and they go off playing and share their secrets together. And it isn't until someone puts ill intention in their minds that they start thinking otherwise, right? Like a little white kid would not natively understand, like just intuitively think that child is inferior to them because of their skin color, or that they're less capable because they're female or male, or they're a better person or stronger because they're male or female. They don't intuitively know this stuff. It's only when they're taught that, right? Right. I don't think a kid, and that's why so many people have a problem with just letting kids be kids, truly be kids. Like if a kid wants to play with a Barbie doll, let him. If a boy wants to play kitchen, wants to put on the apron and cook cookies in the little bake oven or easy bake oven, let him do it. I never would have said that back when I was a right-wing religious wacko. I never would have said that. I would have said boys should be playing with footballs and with toy soldiers, and the girls should be playing with the with the pink things and the Barbie dolls, and that's what they ought to be doing because girls are girls and boys are boys. That's how I used to be. I used to be very, very strident about that and very rigid. Thank you. In my views. And now I say, there's nothing wrong. Like if a little boy, like what is the parent threatened by? What are you ultimately worried about? If your little boy wants to put on an apron and fire up the toy kitchen and cook for everybody, is there something wrong with that? If your little boy wants to trot around the house wearing mom's high heels, is it a tragedy? Are there worse things that a child could be doing than putting on their mom's high heels and trotting around the house? Or if your daughter draws a mustache on her face, ooh, is it the end of the world? What's going to happen? Oh, no. And I used to be so tight about that. I used to be so rigid. And as the Tao Te Ching, which I'm a big fan of and a big student of the Tao Te Ching, it talks about that a lot in the Tao Te Ching, about the rigidity. Like the more rigid you are, the easier you are to break. You ever think about that? Like a palm tree in a hurricane is the most amazing thing to watch. You could have hurricane winds blowing a palm tree like this. It's completely horizontal. Then it whips back up. Do you think an oak tree does so well in 200-mile-an-hour winds? What would happen to an oak tree? One of the majestic, ancient-looking trees on Earth. If you put 200-mile-an-hour winds, the roots would uproot, and that tree would be horizontal, and it would cease to be, just like that. But a palm tree is made to sway, right? It could take all the winds of life and all the adversities of life and just swing back and forth. That's why you have to be loose in life. And that's why the people that are the most rigid, like, oh, boys must be boys and girls must be girls and it must be man plus woman. And it was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And it was, those are the people that will just break in half. The minute their foundation is rattled, they're out. They're out for the count. They can't deal with life anymore. So in life, you have to be less rigid and just more fluid. Just be more fluid. Be more like water in your hand, right? People try to like squeeze your hand. You try to squeeze the water, what happens? You lose it. Just hold the water gently in your hand. Be like just water in someone's hand and not a rigid oak tree that just won't move. Nope. I'm not going to change my mind about God. I'm not going to change my mind about Trump. I'm not going to change my mind about this. You have to be the palm tree, not the oak tree when it comes to things like that. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go to Mindy. Mindy is on with us. Mindy, how old are you for TikTok purposes? You don't have to say your age, but are you over 18?
I'm 51.
Okay, well, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, fellow Gen
Hi.
Xer.
Yes, Gen Xer. I was also, so funny thing is I was raised Mormon, so I understand that perspective and the Christian perspective. But I felt so boxed in from a very young age. I felt like I wanted to scream in church. It was like having shackles on me. So when I was 16, I told my parents, I'm not going anymore. I can't do this. Um,
Good for
and
you.
I
What was the reaction?
My dad, my mom was very hurt, but my dad said, "Why don't you go find another church that you feel like you belong it, like you belong in?" Because they felt like um, it was a very good thing to have spirituality. I've got three other siblings, and my mom said that I was the start of the downfall of the last three because
Oh, no.
Mormonism is very hard to break, and she believed that until the end. Um, and my dad is still Mormon, and I have an older sister who still is, and they're very strong in it. Her and her family and her children's family. It's a very strong mental hold, and it's all because of the family and the forever living. But let me tell you something that happened to me that
Sure.
um, I had an awakening a few years ago, and I was up in the mountains with this sister and her husband who are Mormon, and I was on a side by side with my dad. And I noticed some trees. They were quaking aspens, and they were my mother's favorite trees. And a huge butterfly the size of a dinner plate showed up in front of me, and I was like, I'm going towards those trees. And as if a gust of wind came through me, my mother's soul went right through my body. I breathed her in, and I knew that we were just energy and we never die. And it solidified everything that the Mormons believe, and everything that my sister has ever wanted to have happen in the temple, everything that religious people talk about. And I got to experience it because I was open and limber. As you said, I was fluid. My mother could impress upon me, guess what? I'm still alive because I breathed her in. And I have never had such a profound experience in my life, but it took being fluid to the spirituality, to what the essence of what we really are.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing. And that's what I tend to believe. People think I don't believe in an afterlife. I most certainly do, but I don't believe in a religious afterlife. I think religious afterlives kind of suck. I mean,
Yes.
you're either sucking on Jesus's toes for eternity, or you're suffering and turmoil and tumult and everything else for eternity. I don't like either option. I think it's more like what you described. I think when we pass, I don't think things go dark. I often use that as an analogy, but I don't think we go dark. I think it's going to be the most amazing feeling in the world where we're out of the physical meat suits we're in and we just kind of just soar. Like I see the afterlife as just constant soaring, like you never land any.
Your sound just went out.
Okay, can you see me? Am I back here?
You are back.
Okay. What happened when I was gone, by the way? Did it all go dark? I'm sorry. I have to know what happens when I flip out of the app when I'm doing a live. Do you see me frozen on the screen, or does it just show like
It
live
says
is
that you'll
paused?
be back later. It says that you've been paused and the
Okay.
picture goes dark.
Okay. But you still see comments and people are still on the screen and stuff, or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just had to write a text real quick. It was important. But um yeah, no, I think that's what it is. I think we're all energy, love, and I think that we all go back to that. And I know that's hard for people to swallow, that and there's a part of me for a long time that wanted to know that Adolf Schmittler was suffering for what he did to those people, and bad people would have to pay in the end, right? It's a normal human emotion to feel that way. Like if somebody, especially if somebody, let's say, unalives your child, and they go through the courts and maybe they only got 10 years in prison or they didn't get any prison time, you say to yourself, well, at least they're going to rot in, hell. We it's a normal human inclination to want bad people to suffer and good people to be rewarded, but maybe it's not like that. Maybe energy doesn't work that way. Maybe ultimately Adolf Schmittler's energy goes to the same place as Mother Teresa's. And I know that's hard for people to swallow, but it's a real possibility that there isn't the good place and the bad place, right? That we just kind of all go into this light, and our time to be punished if we get caught for things is on earth. That's why we have jails, prisons, why we have police, why we have, you know what I mean, judges, and our time to be judged is on earth. But religion teaches us just the opposite. Like God will ultimately judge you, right? Christians can't stop fixating on Judgment Day, Judgment Day, Judgment Day. So all they talk about is Judgment Day. And it's like they have this obsession with like standing before God and kneeling before Jesus, and who's in the book and who's not in the book, and who's going to get patted on the head and who's going to get sent to hell. And it's really pathological. It's so obsessive. It's ridiculous. I mean, it seems like most Christians, they spend just as much of their time in life relishing that bad people are going to just melt into their own bodily fluids in a pit of hell, in a lake of fire, than just being good people, good parents, and good humans. I mean,
Yeah. And what if the punishment is, or there's not a punishment, but what if it's you come out of body and you're like, wow, I really did that wrong. I'm immediately going back in and I'm going to learn what I was supposed to learn. What if it's just that never ending cycle where, because you are enlightened once you're out and you're like, I am this energy, I am part of source. Source and I are one, and there's something I didn't learn and I want to go in and learn that. And that could almost be if somebody wants to think of a hell, I know that my sister who is Mormon thinks that hell would be reincarnation, but I believe that there is reincarnation. So if you didn't learn it now, you possibly eternally want to learn it.
Yeah, very good, Mindy. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much
Thank
for.
you for having me.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. You take care, okay? And
Uh-huh.
please come up anytime. Have a wonderful day. W is for Mindy. What is that? 3 for 3 on the callers? I almost am afraid to take another caller because it'll, ruin the odds here. I don't remember the last. Well, I shouldn't say that. I remember like one live I've done where I had 3 good callers in a row. John says you do have a good radio voice. Thank you very much. Nicole says I'm not a Christian anymore, but still love the Bible. I see it from a totally different perspective. I read the Bible every day, believe it or not. I have more copies of the Bible as a non-believer than I ever did as a believer, and it's a fascinating book. There's even parts of me that thinks that some of it is veiled terminology for like what we now know as the law of attraction. The whole like knock and the door will be opened, right? Ask and ye shall receive, things like that. It's very law of attraction-ish to me. It's almost, there's parts of the Bible that almost seem metaphysical to me. Yeah, it's a fascinating book as long as you read it with a critical mind, and don't assume everything's true in it when you read it, because you know that not everything's true in it. You know that the Bible, much of it has been debunked, and an all-knowing God wouldn't allow his word to be so easily debunked. Again, going back to like when people say, what made you deconstruct? I'm just sharing tidbits of my life, in my philosophy, so you understand where I'm coming from. That was a big one for me, that if God really inspired this book thousands of years ago, he would have made it impenetrable to criticism. He would have made it impenetrable to debunking. He would have had it so solidly put together. And it's not. It's very sloppily put together. It's very much written by first century men. This is an interesting book, but it's not a mind-blowing book. Like nothing in the Bible is mind-blowing from the standpoint that an all-knowing God could have put this together. Like an all-knowing God would have made this way, way better than it is. Same thing with the Ten Commandments. I often make the analogy that if you gave a child, you put a child entered a child into a contest, a 7-year-old kid throughout the world, and their top prize was a week at Disneyland, all expense paid, airfare, hotels, food. We're talking about thousands of dollars in value in this package. And the little kids always wanted to go to Disneyland. They'd never been. And they go, what's the contest? What do I got to do? I want to win. The contest is you are the almighty creator of everything. You are the supreme being of the universe. And you have to come up with 10 commandments, 10 laws that you want humans to live by, that you think are the most important 10 edicts, 10 most important commandments or instructions that a human being could possibly have as they go through life. Excuse me. And the number one winner, the top winner, is going to win a week at Disneyland, all expense, airfare, hotel, food, everything you want. Everything. That 7-year-old would come up with better commandments than God did. And that's how you kind of have to question that your God's kind of fake here, that these commandments were written by humans at the time that they were written, and not by an all-powerful God, all-knowing God. The 10 Commandments are very underwhelming. As I joke around, and I'm not really joking, I'm serious, it should be like the 3 commandments. Because there's only 3 in there that I think are they're pretty solid. They're pretty good things to live by. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not unalive, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. I think those are the 3 keepers. Those are the big keepers in there. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I mean, those get into kind of morality things, and they're all morality based, but you know what I mean. If I had to keep 3 of them, it would probably be those. Thou shalt not unalive, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. And then I would add things like thou shalt not commit slavery. God never wrote that in there. Another indication that God's not real, certainly not the Abrahamic God. Because God, by not putting a commandment in there, if God's all-knowing, God knew the thousands of years of slavery's cost on this planet, on its victims, all the lives that would be tortured and unalived and lost and wasted due to slavery. So God knew that. God had to have known. Either God's all-knowing or he's not. And if God's all-knowing, he had to have known that slavery was wrong. So why not command that it's wrong? Why not say that it's wrong? Why not put a stop to it in the Bible? Not once does he put a stop to it in the Bible. He had every opportunity in the world to crush people that were slave owners. Didn't do it because the Bible was written by men, not God. The Bible was written by men who weren't about to put that into the Ten Commandments. They were not about to make up a commandment that says, thou shalt not own slaves, because most people own slaves probably. And most people were enslaved at some point back then. And it was such a big part of how they ran things and just the local workings and the economy. And imagine at that time in Mesopotamia, if you didn't have slaves, you couldn't write a commandment that God said, let's come up with things that God doesn't want us to do. It makes sense that slavery didn't make the list. It only makes sense that slavery didn't make the list if the Ten Commandments were written by humans, not by God, because an all-loving God would have most certainly put in a commandment that said, thou shalt not own slaves. Right? I mean, is there any reason why God left that out? Does any Christian want to tell me? I'm going to bail out of here, guys, because I have to get ready for my day. I am Ziggy. What is Ziggy saying? But you can't. What did Ziggy say before that? Is that a challenge or something? But you can't, Ziggy. I don't know what that means, Ziggy. It's out of context for me. It says, but you can't. Thank you, D. Boone. Nice to be here. Okay, I am Ziggy says you can't derail God's plan. Well, then there's no free will. And yet, see, Christians get into that hole where they can't get out. They just can't get out of that hole. Because if God has a plan and it can't be derailed, then there is no free will. That means God's plan was for me to drink this next sip of coffee. That was God's intention. So if I had done this instead and then thrown the coffee out into the grass and not had that last cup of coffee, God's will has been derailed by me, because God's will was for me to finish that coffee. So I either finish the coffee or I don't. And if I throw the coffee away and don't drink it, I'm derailing God's plan for me to drink the coffee. And if I drink the coffee, God says, aha, I knew you were going to do that. And either way, free will doesn't exist. You can't defy God. Then there's no free will. I should have, if you can't defy God, that means you're in a real trap here, Ziggy. That means that Adam and Eve were only doing what God intended then. So that means original sin is a big sham and the biggest lie ever perpetrated on human beings. Because if you can't defy God, what did Eve do? See the trap you're in? Because Christians believe that Eve is the downfall of mankind. Eve defied God. And you're saying you can't defy God. So what did Adam and Eve do wrong then? That means God intended them. Like I believed all along, God set them up. If God is real, which it's not, but if this God is real, he set them up. He put the talking snake in there knowing that it would tempt them. He knew that Eve would be susceptible to the temptation and Adam would be too. He knew that by telling them, don't eat of that tree, that they were going to eat of that tree. And yet the whole reason Christians say we have original sin is because Adam and Eve defied God. And you're saying right here in the chat, you can't defy God. So which is it? Grace says, take care, all God is within. Vibrate love. We are creating as a collective. We are walking in Jesus' path now. Grace, you can have all of that. You can be a good person and vibrate love. I do it every day without Jesus and not for Jesus, but do it because it's good for your fellow human being. It's good for you. Sweets and Peace says it's called faith. Yes, faith is not a virtue, though. We were taught wrong. Our parents lied to us. God lied to us. Everybody lied to us about faith. Faith is not a virtue. Faith is kind of your consolation prize. Faith is the vacuum cleaner you win on Wheel of Fortune when you could have won the trip to Tahiti. right? Faith is the $2 win on the scratcher when you could have won $100,000. Faith is the crumbs, quote me on this, Spencer Hughes said this today. Faith is the crumbs that God puts on your plate when he won't give you the facts. Faith is the crumbs that God tosses you when he won't give you facts. There is no believer that would choose faith over facts. You only have faith because that's all you're left with. What else? What other choice do you have other than to be faithful of your God? He won't leave you facts, contrary to what you think the Bible and the resurrection and 500 witnesses that nobody can name. It's silliness. God does not give you facts, clearly. So faith is your default. Faith is the vacuum cleaner you win on Wheel of Fortune when you wanted to win the trip to Tahiti. God could have given you the trip to Tahiti, and he gave you a vacuum cleaner instead. Shroud of Turin's been debunked more times than I can count. And it's contrary to what the Bible describes as Jesus' burial shroud. It actually describes in the Bible that he had multiple, it was like bandages that were put on his body. The Shroud of Turin is one single piece of cloth. There's no description of a single piece of cloth anywhere in the Bible that Jesus was buried in. This was not even discovered until the 14th or 13th centuries. And it's not something anybody talked about for like 1,300 years, 1,200 years. So it's very odd to me that you would think that people would have been looking for the shroud the day after the tomb was empty, right? The same day they would have been looking for the burial shroud. It turned up in France, or not in France. Where was it? In Italy? I don't know. It turned up in the 13th or 14th century. I get those mixed up, but it turned up 1,200 years after. And it's a single cloth, and it's so weird when you look at it. It's like it's a perfect forgery. It's a perfect hoax. I mean, it doesn't look like anything that you would be. It doesn't have. It looks like a flat surface, whereas if it were a shroud, it would wrap around your head, and the ears would be over on the side. Like, it doesn't make any sense the way it's laid out that anybody would have been buried in that. It looks like something you would come up with if you were trying to fake a burial shroud of Jesus Christ. That's what it looks like to me. And even now, everyone's talking about it. The Christians get so excited, like they found the ark, they found Noah's ark. No, they didn't. And no matter how many times you say they found Noah's ark, it doesn't mean they found Noah's ark. They have not found Noah's ark, and they have not found the burial shroud of Jesus Christ. They just haven't. You are your own God now, says Calvin. It's called narcissism. Well, I'm more powerful than God, so thanks for noticing. I have more power in my little finger. I have more power in my turds than this God of the universe has in his entire being. So thank you. Thanks for noticing. Yeah. I certainly would make a better God than this God. I say that jokingly in a way because it wouldn't take much to be better than this God. Condemn slavery, don't unalive babies, don't unalive the entire planet. Those are for starters. Don't punish women who weren't virgins on their wedding night. I mean, see, it doesn't take, when I say I'm better than God, don't get offended by that. I mean, most people, without even trying, are better than God. I know I've missed some of the comments. I got to go, though, guys. I'm going to try to see some more here. Mindy says, I gave my son, Mindy was so fun to talk to. Thanks, Mindy. I gave my son Barbies as a child in the 90s. Good for you. Liz Glaz says, curious what made you change and think differently. I just started looking at my religion more critically and really questioning why I believed what I believed. And it just had too many holes in it for me to keep believing it. That's kind of the thumbnail, the old Cliff Notes. I don't know if they still have Cliff Notes, but that's a Cliff Notes version of that. I just reevaluated what I believed and realized it had more holes in it than a colander, and I just couldn't keep believing it anymore. Politics is just as much indoctrination. You're right about that, Samar. I do not disagree with you. Politics has become like the new radical religion for many people. Mindy says, I've always been fluid. I always change what I think life is. We do have some people in the guest request. Please, no, I'm not blowing you off. I have to. If I take one more caller, I'll take 5 more callers, and I'll never get off of this thing. I'll be in here like all day and night. So thank you. Much love to you guys. Thanks for the almost 15,000 hearts. 28 people at the end of this. And one thing I didn't make my goal of the subscribers. We got to 65 of the 500 little veggie tail things. If we can get 2 subscribers here as I sign off, that would be great. It would really make my day. For a while there, we were getting like 2 or 3 a day, and then we stopped. The momentum ended, and we've been stuck at 14 for like a week. If we can get 2 today, it's $2.99 a month. I promise. The magic number for me is 20. When we get to 20, I'm going to start doing daily content for all my subscribers. When we get to about 50, we'll do subscriber-only lives and comments and things like that. Yeah, we're going to go hog wild. When we get to like between 50 and 100, it's really going to start cooking here. I promise. But if we can get to 15 and 16 subscribers today, the 15th and 16th, that would be unbelievable. Cain went to live with the Canaanites after. Yeah. Lazia, you're absolutely right. Lazia or Lazia. Hey, Gonzo, thank you. Always good to have your support. I appreciate you. Kitty, hello. If anybody wants to subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Again, it's $2.99 a month. I get maybe $1 of that. I think TikTok keeps 2, I get 1, or I get $1.50, they get $1.50, whatever it is. But once we get to 20, so we're only 4 away from 20, I'll do daily videos for subscribers only. When we get to 50, we'll start doing and dabbling in subscriber-only live, seeing how that works out. But we got to get to 16 before we can get to 20, right? So if we can get even 1 today, if 1 more person will subscribe, even not in this live because it's going to end right now, but sometime today, if you choose, please subscribe. Thank you, Tammy, for that. I appreciate the heart me. Thank you, Lacia, for the follow. She's false. Laugh out loud. What does that mean? She's false. I know you're in the queue to be a guest here, but I'm just not taking any more right now. So thank you. We made it to just about 16,000 hearts. We didn't get the subscriber goal, but that's okay. We'll get to it soon enough. I'll just keep trying. If you notice, I'm not greedy. I try to get like 1 or 2 each live, like 1 or 2 more. And we've been stuck at 14 for about a week. But if we can get to 15 and 16 by the end of this weekend, that would be awesome. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.